Greetings, everyone. I am very excited today to be interviewing John White and talking about his development of the Spooky2 Rife machines. But before we get into the interview, let me just read a brief bio about you, John. But thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So John White is a Rife researcher and inventor from New Zealand, now living in Nanjing, China. He has a background in electrical engineering, physics, and computer sciences, and he has been researching and developing solutions to serious diseases since 2008. John specializes in energy and scalar resonance healing, biofeedback, and pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And he has collaborated with other researchers to discover answers to health issues. His company, Spooky2, has developed a very affordable and effective variety of Rife Frequency machines. They administer frequencies in a variety of ways, including remote, contact, plasma, ultrasonic, and PEMF, and utilize quantum entanglement. So I'm very excited to be in this conversation with you today, John. And part of what I think is profound, you and I were just talking before we got on for the interview, that, my perspective of astrology is that it's tapping into that ancient wisdom and the ancient healing traditions that understood that everything is energy and everything is interconnected. And we're circling back to that now with our understanding of quantum physics and this incredible, exciting development of new forms of healing that are really about that understanding of frequency and vibration and energy. And you're a cutting edge pioneer with that. So talk a little bit about your journey of getting into this, because it's really a moving story of how you started down this path.
I laughed when you said cutting edge, because a lot of what we're doing now is known over 100 years ago.
And thousands of years ago in the past.
So how can we claim to be pioneers? But for present day, I guess you could say pioneer, still trying to catch up. Amazing achievements were performed years ago. A lot of our work is focused on Royal Rife's work, what he discovered and what he achieved. My personal involvement started through family tragedies where I had family members leave before their time. This was way before 2008. And I had that feeling, which I guess most people would have, of helplessness, where you see the progression of the slow progression as death takes its hands on the person over the period of weeks or months. And there's no thing you can do about it except give them the normal tablets and things. There's nothing you can do to be proactive. And that I didn't like that feeling, and it really weighed heavily on my shoulders. That was part of my decision in career choice to become involved with the electronics, electrical things. So I started off as an apprentice to become an electrician to wire houses. But you've got to start somewhere. And after a year, I'd completed my theory of the apprenticeship, but I had 3 more years to go. So the journeyman, the person who was training me for the apprenticeship, he pushed me into starting my engineering degree. And so there was the first degree I did, and I did others after that for other areas of science. I was never a party goer. I was always thinking, it's almost like a guilt. You think, if only. And then I swung that around because I realized that wasn't healthy. Instead of saying, if only, turn it into, I can. I can stop. I can provide a safety line for other people so they don't have to go through this. And so I was I found myself researching plasma and plasma fields and the intricacies of these fields. And I stumbled on a gentleman, papers written by a gentleman by the name of Royal Raymond Rife. And I realized that I was in lockstep with what he was doing and what he had done. And he had finished what I'd started and achieved miraculous results. By miraculous, I'll define as resolving. Am I allowed to say the words here in this channel? Okay, well, he was people that had terminal cancer, he could cure them. He could make it so they had no more traces of cancer in their body. And that was
didn't he believe that cancer came from a virus as well?
Yes, he did. Yes. And so he was focusing on the BX and then subsequently the BY viruses. This is way before the time when viruses had the nomenclature that they have now. And there's argument as to what his virus actually was. But Royal Raymond Rife was a sort of person who, he was an expert on basically anything he could touch. He was an expert musician. He invented a speedboat engine that broke the world record for how fast a speedboat could go. He invented the world's most powerful microscope, so he could view the pathogens that he's wanting to disable. And then, of course, he invented the machines that gave the viruses the hitting that they deserve.
He used an oscillating pulse. Is that correct?
He used a waveform, not so much a pulse, but a waveform, which caused the viruses to shake at the precise frequency to resonate and to then break up and become disabled. That's a simplification of what he was doing in a practical sense. Very smart person. The thing that he wasn't so smart on was legalities. He had a machine that could cure cancer and a multitude of other life-taking diseases in very short periods of time. And he employed an electrical engineer, never trust an electrical engineer, to improve his machines. The engineer developed a different method of applying the frequencies, same frequencies, but this new technique could hide the frequencies. You can't patent something natural, and these frequencies are natural. So he discovered a way of hiding them, and that's, for anyone technical who's listening, it's called the carrier frequency. That's the function of the carrier. And so he did this, and then after a while he laid claim to the machine and tried to become a rich person by basically walking on the person who employed him. So there are court cases, and Royal Rife was struggling just to wrap his mind around the problems in his. There must have been tremendous pressure on him. He started drinking alcohol, became an alcoholic, and died in hospital. It's I guess, greed over this and that, but just think, in 1931, there was a medical trial, 16 terminally ill cancer patients went through the trial, and all at the end of the day were healed using Royal Rife's machine. Now that should be the impetus for research now. We should discover why it worked, how it works, and refine it, because we've got modern day electronics. But it's not. This is the thing which despaired me. So I decided, right, my focus will be to eliminate needless suffering. This is in the company Spooky2. And Spooky2 is a company, it's basically a vehicle to sell these machines so that people can benefit from them. Create the best machines that we can possibly do with today's technology, and try and mirror, or even better, try to better, that is, Royal Rife's machines that he had created way in the previous century.
You know, it's so interesting that it sounds like he was really on this path to support people in healing, not to profit off of these devices. No. And that your mission is very much the same, that you're trying to empower people to be in their own healing process.
Right. Before I moved to China, when I was living in Auckland, New Zealand, I was offered a 7-figure sum to sell everything that I had developed at that time. And I was thinking, well, this is kind of mirroring what was taking place then, where the engineer that Royal Rife employed, he was offered enormous sums by lawyers of other companies to try and, well, not, to take over the company and control the technology. Yeah, it's very similar. So maybe there was just an early test, I suppose. See if I'd go.
It's so interesting, John, because, you know, before we got onto the interview, we were talking about how this is such a critical transition time on the planet. And I think that from an astrological perspective, the meaning of moving into the age of Aquarius is about understanding that everything is energy and everything is vibration. But it's also about moving away from these power over models that are based on greed and that end up being very destructive, to being empowering to people to be in their own process of healing and transformation. So you're really working that, and I know that's very much a part of the mission of your company.
My belief system is such that I know that I am going to be accountable for everything I do, every decision I make, every thought I have, even without putting anything to action, I will be answerable to. So it could be good, could be bad. I don't want to suffer from things that I do now. I want to make a positive change, and I cannot be bought. I cannot be swayed. I cannot be persuaded through money or fame, fortune, or anything.
So, I really respect your integrity.
But I tell you what, Heather, okay, it started off just with me with a stupid idea and idealisms. Now I wouldn't have thought so, but the world is full of people of like mind. You just have to look on the Facebook group, the Spooky2 Rife for Life, or on the forum, Spooky2 Forum, to see people who have got a similar mind, people that are just without any hesitation giving freely their time, their expertise, and even sometimes equipment to help other people that are in need, just truly giving.
It's beautiful.
So it's sort of like a giant wave that has sort of started to go out, and this wave's not getting smaller, it's getting bigger. I don't think it's been done before, and certainly not for Royal Rife's work. His machines could be just a name now, or it could be something real, and we're wanting to keep it alive. I mean, Royal Rife, he wasn't a martyr. No one's perfect, but he his vision was pure.
Mm.
And he wasn't driven by money. He wasn't driven by greed. He did truly have a beautiful heart. And we're just picking up on that.
But it's beautiful how you're continuing that energy and that mission that was a part of his original mission. And the amount of research that you've put into this is extraordinary. I mean, you started with, but 3,000 or 4,000 frequencies, and now it's up to 60,000. So say a little bit about how you have explored the range of frequencies that you've come to.
Sure. I'll do a little sidetrack. Because we've grown larger, we've got friends all around the world. Some of these friends are scientists who are very clever, and we work together. I don't need to stand up on my soapbox and say, look, we've done this and we've done that and we're amazing and all the rest of it. What I can say is, we have done this, we've done that, and we are proud because we're delivering. We have developed a method of emulating substances. So you can, through emulation, it's copying the free electron energy level of compounds. So they match with the amino acid chains of proteins and perform the same functions as the drug or whatever, or health-giving nutrient that your body needs. As you said, everything is energy, and the way that our body works is through energy.
And so resonance.
Absolutely. And so we created a molecular weight database. And being the type of people that we are, we don't charge $15 per substance or anything for this information. It's all free. It is free. And we created a way of deriving DNA frequencies. Now, anything living has got DNA. Viruses, even the smallest virus has got DNA. We have derived, how to calculate the precise frequency to disable that DNA so it cannot replicate, cannot divide, can't grow. And so we've released the paper so that method can't be patented. And before, all these papers a paper had been patented, then there's arguments of who owned the patent and whether the information was stolen from someone else. Well, we improved markedly and fixed the flaws in those patents, created our Spooky2 paper, published it. It is free, open domain. So no one can patent it, no one can make money from it, not through the sale of those frequencies. So we've done that. And also there's the main database, which we basically inherited that from previous Rife work and previous researchers who again didn't charge for those frequencies. So we now have something like 60,000 frequencies, all of which are free, all of which anyone can use. They don't even need to use a Spooky2 device to run them, Heather. They can run the Spooky2 software, write down the frequencies, and then run them. We don't know frequencies. We just are wanting as many people to be healed as possible. We know that other machines may work to varying degrees, and if someone's got what they call a Rife machine already, then all they need is a right frequency for it to work. I mean, that's the way it is. Now, I'm not going to give you a sales pitch and say this and that, as you probably expect. We don't make our machines for money. We make our machines for results. And I think that's a big difference between us and the other game players in the Rife machine field. Our focus is on the people. So we know that our devices work. We know that our frequencies work. And the two are a winning combination. We make our machines much cheaper than the other manufacturers, it's not because it's made in China. Gosh, the components we have to import from America anyway, so that the baseline cost is the same, even more so because we've got to import it. So we focus on quality, so it's a sad fact that at the moment it's more reliable to purchase the raw materials, most of the raw materials, from America or some other European countries. But we put it together. We don't have a sweatshop here. We have a lot of smiley faces. We released our 10th anniversary video, and it shows the workers there smiling and doing their bit, and it's like an assembly line, but it's not like a sweatshop. It's the opposite. It's like
How did you end up moving to China?
Oh, wow. Because I don't want to, let's see, what will I focus on? I moved out of New Zealand because I felt too constrained. Rules and regulations, silly regulations in my mind. I had a secret clinic in the basement of a high-rise building. Two floors ahead. On top of me was the Auckland University Cancer Research Group. And it was very important they didn't learn of my existence. I used to work after hours and treat people in the clinic using our devices. At that time, I was a member of the Rife Forum, and I wasn't well loved by the person who runs the Rife Forum, because he has his fingers in a lot of pies, and those pies are other Rife machines, and they felt that I was taking their market share or a threat to their market share.
So it's this ongoing theme of who's in it for the money versus healing.
And I had a private investigator come visiting me, and this private investigator asked the university research group, "Is there the Cancer Clinic New Zealand Limited in this building?" And they said no, because they didn't know of me. And so I was shown to be a fraud and all the rest of it. But the authorities caught wind of it in New Zealand, and then I was investigated further. I was investigated for the taxation side. I didn't charge, so I didn't show any income, but they said I must have, for to cover for power usage and rental space and all of this. It wasn't. I didn't charge. But it all just became just one big mess. And I thought, look, I've got a little person in Germany making my life miserable by getting this investigator to come here and just creating these waves. It's not right. It shouldn't be possible. Not with my greater goal in mind. It's going to hinder me. So I thought, well, I'll go to a different country. And of course, it's a large world. I could have gone anywhere. But I wanted to go somewhere which made it easier for me to produce the machines. And at that time, most of my equipment came from China. So I thought, okay, I'll move to China and rent a little room there or something and make my equipment. And I was kind of aware that China would be cheaper to ship out from. New Zealand was terribly expensive for shipping. And I thought, well, I'll just do it, So I did it. And I moved to China, and I missed out actually a little gap, which I'll mention, to sort of set the scene. After I'd been investigated in New Zealand, I ended up living in a motorhome, a house truck, for 1 year. as part of this pressure that was being placed on me by authorities, where there's the issue of, no money coming in, therefore, for, where did the money come from, for maintaining a mortgage of a house and all the rest of it. And I had 2 other businesses, that are cafe businesses, and everything just got so incredibly messy. It's like it was just terrible. I decided, no, it's time for a change, a paradigm change. You can't do a big change slowly, really. You've got to cut. And so I cut right through everything and come into China. So came to China with not much with me. Well, that's not quite true, because what I had were enormous plans.
But you were wanting to put your energy into that mission rather than fighting this battle and feeling restricted.
So that little person in Germany who tried to cause big trouble to me by proving me to be a con man, not having a real clinic and all the rest of it, he did me a wonderful favor. So I'm sort of in gratitude, like, in a way. To be honest, I don't really want to meet him face to face, because I know that he's not really a nice person. But I'm not a person that holds a grudge, and I do know that on a physical level I owe him, because he helped me take that big step. He pushed me, and that's really what I needed. And for a negative sense, but yeah, it was still a push. To come to China, I mean, look, now it was like 8 years ago. Now I married a woman who's from China, and I've got 2 lovely children. So yeah,
so you took a crisis and turned it into a transformation.
A massive transformation. I could never have envisioned this. I always thought that my lot was where I was there, which is basically just, fighting authorities and making machines and continuing that cycle. But now, because China's so big, they don't really care about me. I've never been investigated, never been, on a personal level. The company has, because authorities in other countries don't like us too much. But in China, it's sort of remote. The people are more open to natural means of healing.
Well, I've studied Chinese energetic medicine, and there's such a long tradition of understanding healing through that more holistic understanding of energies and frequencies.
It hasn't got the negative connotations that have been pushed on these types of systems.
Yeah.
And some of it's gone through to Western countries like acupuncture.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So does your system interface at all with the understanding of meridians and how energy runs through the body that way?
Oh, yes, it does. There are ways of applying frequencies to points in your body, and those points can be the meridian points. Spooky2 is a mature company now, and we've developed a lot of machines encompassing different modalities, different ways of applying the frequencies. Sometimes people say, well, what's the best machine? And then you have to ask the question, for what? Is it for balancing? Is it for body entrainment? Do you have like organs which aren't working properly? Do you want to make them work properly again by entrainment? Or do you want to go to battle, go to war with these pathogens that are free riding in your body? Yeah.
That's actually something I wanted to ask you. So my understanding of the Rife machines originally was they were about targeting pathogens and, really supporting the body in clearing toxins or unhealthy cells. But it sounds like you've developed modalities that are actually also about harmonizing the body or increasing wellness. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely. I'll tell you a trade secret, just between you and me. The word Rife has been used for marketing, and we are very aware of that. For a machine to be a Rife machine, or even the original Rife machine, Royal Rife didn't really want his name on that. He was a humble man, soft-spoken. He was big in the way of his achievements rather than his words. We were also loath to use the term Rife for our plasma machine, which is the one machine that's closest to what he developed. But we decided in the end to use his name as for two reasons. One is through respect, because he was the pioneer that invented the way of applying plasma fields for healing purposes. And the second one is for awareness, so that his name comes up and up. That will seed inquisitive people to look up Rife, who was Rife, and read and discover what he did and what was done 100 years ago. So this is why we called our plasma machine a true Rife machine. Pulse DMF, contact mode, sound with ultrasonic and all the other modalities, cold laser, they are not Rife. They absolutely are not Rife. What Royal Rife used was plasma and frequencies in combination. In a clever combination, pulses of trains of frequencies. So
Isn't it interesting now, too, that so much of our understanding of the universe is now with the understanding of plasma and that whole reconfiguration of our understanding of the universe?
The universe is composed of more plasma than matter.
Yes.
More, yet, are we taught about it at school? I went through my degree, and plasma was just touched upon as an incidental, maybe 5 minutes when describing the components of an arc. It certainly wasn't focused on. And it should be taught at high school because it's the most abundant form of matter, plasma, not matter. Fun, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I interviewed Robert Temple, who's talked a lot about that cutting edge research and how everything is plasma. Absolutely.
It's just crazy. So,
but say more about how your machines are enhancing health as well as targeting pathogens.
Okay. In our bodies, we have many organs, and they each sing their little songs and work in harmony, right?
That's what the shamans knew.
But sometimes the organs, one of the organs, one or more, may be singing out of tune, and it will ruin the whole song. What we focus on is helping the organs to get back in key.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to describe it.
This is entrainment. It's like a child that's walking a little bit slow, and you hold the child's hand, and then you, step with Baba, step, 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 and they're away again. If you have a team of people and one of the team is doing the opposite at random times, it's a real burden on the rest of the team players But
Well,
if
it's like
all,
a symphony. If you have an orchestra where someone's out of tune, then it's creating cacophony and you lose the harmony. But what's beautiful about what you're saying, John, is, there's that whole ancient understanding of the harmony of the spheres. And that harmony is meant to live in us as well as outside of us. So it's all about coming, it's that ancient principle and understanding of everything is meant to be in right harmony, right balance, right relationship with everything else. So it sounds like you're supporting the body in remembering its natural harmonic.
absolutely. You've described it better than I ever could. That is entrainment, or what we call entrainment. We do other things with frequencies like detoxification. Sometimes organs are getting grumpy because they can't function properly. They might have heavy metals accumulating in them, which are from the mercury in our mouths, or the environment. And there's other pollutants around as well. As humanity develops, I use the term humanity loosely here, Heather, because we're now experiencing incredible turmoil and destruction everywhere, it seems. So, but I'll use that term because it's been used in the past. We are truly our own worst enemies at the moment. You think everything that we have around us is not really conducive to good health. The Wi-Fi, the radiation, even the radiation from monitors of our computers, it's poisonous to us in a cellular level. I think that the focus has been on convenience. It's convenience and I'd say convenience is the biggest thing, because then everything is readily available. It's got a positive side. The internet, you can get information easier, but it's also a great burden because you can get negative things easier as well. And it's hard to maintain a healthy state in your body with everything that's around now. Of all the things I've mentioned, there's other things as well, like emotional strains. And there's more people now that are depressed than there ever have been. Why is it?
We're anxious.
But why?
Anxiety.
Because we've got everything at our fingertips.
Well, but John, I think you're just describing it. We're in, and I truly believe from that astrological perspective, we're at an incredible choice point. And we are moving into the age of Aquarius. And part of the shadow side of the age of Aquarius is to be on a path of continued idealization of technology in a way that's dehumanizing us as humanity and taking us further and further from this deeper understanding that everything is energy and meant to be in right harmony. So we've got this one trajectory that's about more and more discord and more destruction. But the true meaning of Aquarius is bringing everything back into right balance and right harmony, and moving out of those destructive power over paradigms. So it seems like part of what you're doing with these healing modalities that you've developed is helping us come back into harmony, balance in the midst of a world that's very out of balance right now. But I think the more we're in balance, the more then we can emanate that energy and support other people in getting into balance. And the more that those of us who are on that path of healing and consciousness emanate that healing energy, the more it can change the collective. And I think that's part of my mission, is how do we support that? But I think you're really doing it in a way that's empowering people to be healing and coming back into balance within themselves, physically and emotionally, which then allows us to, I think, think more clearly about what our priorities are and what are we trying to foster and create as humanity on the planet.
I think the focus at the moment for people, many people now, is to emanate beauty, look beautiful and marvelous, and post.
Well, that's beauty in a very superficial sense.
Well, I think they should really look within, really start thinking about making a change. No one remains young forever, but beauty, true beauty, is forever.
Well, I truly believe that true beauty comes from living from the soul self and, embodying that. And again, to me, this transition time we're in on the planet is about, can we remember what it is to be in right harmony and right balance? Because then we'll be making decisions from that place.
There's been several generations of progression to where we are now. So I'm hopeful of that change, Heather. I'm not sure. Well, I always remain hopeful that people discover that the true meaning of life. If you're on earth to make money and own houses and cars and everything, if that's the purpose of life, then boy, I feel sorry for you. I really do. Wealth is not material. Wealth is very, very different. Wealth is having nothing but having everything.
Well, and part of what I think you're speaking to, John, and part of what my work is about is talking about these larger cycles of our human history and human consciousness. And I truly believe, and you may know about the Yuka cycle, that we're really coming to the end of the Kali Yuka period, where we're coming to the end of this time of forgetting, of ignorance, of losing connection with the ancient wisdom that we once knew. We're in a time where we're called to remember who we truly are as humans on this planet, and open to a higher consciousness. And I think part of the change we're in right now is moving away from the idealization of technology and computers and all of that to remembering what we're capable of with our consciousness.
I had a discussion with a gentleman. He was a scientist. He was insistent that something was not real unless it could be measured. At that particular time, we're talking about the scalar field. We produce a scalar machine which rides on the shoulders of a different giant by the name of Nikola Tesla, but that's for another day. And he said, well, you can't directly measure a scalar field, so therefore it's not there. And I said to him, well, by your standards, then you don't have a soul. And that was the end of discussion. Yeah.
Well, I also think, isn't it interesting, John, that 4% of our universe is visible matter. 96% is invisible. So if we can only believe what we can see and what we can measure in that left brain kind of technology, then we're neglecting 96% of what is.
Absolutely. And even what you perceive as solid is actually mostly space and with a few atoms whizzing around. And even deeper, what you see is a projection of yourself. Everything around you is, so it just gets incredibly layered, one might say. It's not just as simple as people are led to believe. And so the wisdom that you're talking about, people need to just take several steps back, not just one. Several steps back.
Well, the other thing that I think is significant is that in the last 5,000 years is when we've become more left brain dominant and more caught in that paradigm of separation of self and other. And prior to that, for tens of thousands of years of our human history, we were more right brain dominant, which is more that understanding of everything being interconnected and that capacity to realize we are in relationship with everything around us. So I truly believe we're coming back in, from a neuropsychological perspective, we're coming back into more balance between left brain, right brain ways of knowing, which will guide us into seeing things in a different way and understanding that everything is interconnected. But very much the research that you're doing is coming from that perspective, that everything is interconnected and everything is meant to be in right balance, right harmony.
When I came to China, I felt that I was pretty smart and I knew pretty much everything, as one does after the time I've been doing the work. But everything was turned almost overnight, spun around to the point where now I realise, even right now, how little I and we know what's around us. So I'm sort of humbled by people that haven't got engineering degrees, but have got true wisdom. The opportunities for me to go to the sacred places where Western people are not allowed to go, the caves, the hideouts where the early Taoists and others stay out of sight, and making friends, befriending many of them. That has been a real blessing for me, and yeah, it's meeting friends, not necessarily in a physical sense, but over using Zoom or Skype or something, whatever, all over the world, including Hawaii, where we talked to the wife of one of the people who developed Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian healing. We had hoped to interview her husband, but he passed away 2 weeks earlier. But the way that the universe pushed us to her was quite remarkable. It wasn't a chance. And that changed, just through the one talk with her, changed everything that we thought of the universe and how everything is truly connected. And then applying that in what we make so that people can benefit.
So what do you see, John, as the potential for healing as we move forward with this, if we hold that expanded consciousness about what we're capable of?
I would say that the greatest obstacle that one must jump over to restore their health is knowledge. They need to. I have seen so many times, Heather, some people that just won't. They accept their disease. They accept this lockstep method of treating their disease, and not taking that leap to discover more and find other ways of solving the problem. I'd say the biggest obstacle is between the ears. It's not equipment. We've got devices now that can do amazing things, but they've got to be applied. And people in their minds think, "Oh, this is quackery. This is, you know."
Well, maybe another way to say what you're saying, John, is that we all need to not give our power away to anyone. We need to be really taking responsibility for our own healing journey. And to me, that's not only exploring what the options are and and exploring things at that knowledge level, but really tuning into our own awareness also of our bodies and where that imbalance is coming from and what may be out of balance in our lives that we need to also address. So I think healing can be, on multiple levels in that sense when we begin to bring into consciousness what's out of balance. I often feel like our bodies are the messenger trying to wake us up, trying to get us back in balance, back into harmony.
Yes, no, I absolutely agree with you. When you are sick, you can feel every single tinge of pain, every single sensation of your body because you are you.
Mm.
You can express it to words. Some sensations are hard to find words to describe, but you know them. And so I think the best way one of the best things that we can do as a company is to provide the material for people to learn.
Mm.
So this is what we have done. We've created the online groups for people to learn. We hold training courses and we provide training materials so people can go down their path of discovery at their own rate. Sometimes they just need a short snippet of information, and they hold on, and then suddenly, wow, this is where it's going. I never knew that, and then it grows. I think that is the best path to making a large change to the way that we at the moment treat disease or illness of any kind. Yes, our machines are part of that, but the biggest thing is knowledge, understanding what is happening to your body, learning to listen to your body, learning to act fast and act appropriately.
And feel empowered to be on your own healing path.
In the very beginning, I described my sense of being disempowered. I could not do anything. And I lost my grandparents. I couldn't do a thing. Now I can. And I do.
Mm.
My father, he sleeps on his pulsed EMF mat. He doesn't have his knee pain. He's really, really fit for 95.
Mm.
Yeah, and he's got an open mind. So we send him things, and he uses them. We need to open our minds to different things. You can't force belief systems, but this is not that. This is just having an open mind and trying things out. Because you only need to be shown something beautiful once to remember that's beautiful. There's probably other beautiful things down there as well. If someone has a lower back pain and they try our little mini magic pulse EMF device, and then the pain goes in 30 minutes. Well, even painkillers don't work that fast. And this isn't masking pain. Mm-hmm. This is dealing
or causing other side effects.
Yeah. Well, that's how most customers are hooked with our devices, because they try something and wow, this really blows them away. They might try our cold laser series and wake up really feeling energetic. And they might not notice it the first morning, but they come to realize I'm actually feeling pretty good. And what have I changed? Well, I haven't changed my diet, and I'm still sleeping the same number of hours. And then they come down, I'm using this. That's right, this cold laser unit to purify my blood. It does more than just purify the blood, but that's what we say. Yeah. This is so many things. When we were developing our cold laser, of course we're skeptical. We know about previous studies saying this and that, but we decided, okay, we'll set up a laboratory, a biological laboratory, and see for ourselves. And we did. And we saw the effects, and we realized, well, hey, this is actually amazing, and more people should be able to benefit from this. And so we did. And so
it's been wonderful to talk with you, John, and I so respect not only the research that you've done, but your passion for empowering people to be able to be taking on their own healing process. And I truly believe, John, that you're in alignment with these Aquarian paradigms that we're meant to move into in this time, that are about not only understanding that everything is energy, but how do we collaborate and support each other in compassionate ways and move into this new way of being humanity on the planet together, that is about caring for each other and being in right harmony rather than destroying each other or having power over each other or operating out of greed. So thank you for also living that in terms of your own integrity and your own values.
I remember, Heather, it's not just me now. There's thousands of people like-minded. So this is why we've become so popular as a company, because people come to realize, well, we are in it for the right reasons.
Well, I also believe, John, that part of what's happening as we're moving into the Aquarian age is these grassroots communities are forming of people that are awakening, that are conscious, that are genuinely on a path of supporting each other in healing and moving into these new paradigms and new forms of consciousness. So your community is part of that.
Great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me onto your program. I hope that your viewers have gained some information from the interview, and I hope that they do go on their own path of discovery, not necessarily Spooky2, but Royal Rife, and how things were possible years ago, and then think, well, let's do the same again today.
Well, and I will be listing your website and information so that people can follow up and explore it more for themselves. But thank you. And thank you to all of you listening. Blessings.
Bye-bye.